Hi friends, are you having trouble with your project management? Every time you try and launch a new improvement project, it just gets deprioritized and set to one side. Well, I've got 3 tips to bring a new project management tool back to life with action plans. Hi, if we're meeting for the first time, my name is Donovan. I'm a supply chain professional with over 10 years of experience doing supply chain and planning. My biggest customer was Apple, and I've even set up my own warehouse shipping out 10,000 orders every month. So my passion is actually bringing e-commerce entrepreneurs like you the tips and tricks to make their garage, small storage space where they're working from into a top-tier, world-class warehouse. So stay tuned. Our first lesson today is going to be covering action plans. If you're joining us for the first time, be sure and join the Facebook group. This is where all of our lessons will be stored and discussions will take place. The link is down in the description. And every week we'll have the same lesson covering different topics. We'll be closing up this session soon. This is lesson 5 of 6 in our process improvement and productivity section. So every Thursday at 10 a.m. in Singapore, we'll be broadcasting, and that'll show at the same time West Coast USA Wednesday at 7 p.m. currently with daylight savings time, and then East Coast at 10 p.m. So let's go ahead and dive in. We started the series doing value stream mapping to get an idea of where our trouble areas are. We'll quickly run through that and then get into our action plan tips and tricks, okay? So hang out for that. We've been following the procedures laid out in mapping the total value stream. So let's go ahead and run through that. Value stream mapping is good for implementing new items into your process, improving productivity, things like that. If you want more information, we have that covered pretty well in lesson 2 and lesson 3. So go ahead and find those down in the description. This is what we're looking for a value stream. This is a standard example. Let's pay special attention to the cycle time and the number of units of inventory. We go ahead and emulate that in our example for receiving. We have cycle time of 1.2 seconds for our receiving, counting, and assigning a license plate. There's some additional processes involved with receiving, the item setup, and the bagging and any value-added services like labeling. Alright, so using that example, in lesson 3 we calculated our tack time and found that we wanted to take a look at our item setup time. Our tack time is 20 seconds. We got a problem here with item setup, 48 seconds taking for each unit. We might get behind schedule on that. So we're going to use that as an example to try and get our root cause of why. So root cause analysis, we've been following this book to kind of help us out. Effective problem solving, definitely a higher level skill encompassing knowledge, ability, and experience. It's more than just tools or techniques. So take that into account as we go through. The tips and tools that we're going to be using are not going to take the place of actually making a decision. They're just going to give you information to help you make that decision. Alright, so what kind of things we can do to try and get down to the root cause? We definitely want to focus on trying to get down deep, not deal with the symptoms, but the actual root cause. 2 ways to do that is what they call the 5 whys. Asking questions, why does this keep happening? What is happening to make this problem arise? And slowly diving down to each of the causes, the symptoms, to get to the root cause. So we covered that last lesson, lesson 4. So go ahead and check that out if you have any questions on any of these root cause analysis. We also did the fishbone. So it's a common field where these 6 areas are discussed. They're arranged into a fishbone pattern where the possible causes for that problem are discussed in each of the 6 areas. So in the last lesson we covered that and worked out that we wanted to focus on the tech area for this root cause of having a slow item setup. There's a lot of manual entry involved, so we want to kind of reduce that manual entry. So we go ahead and we're going to cover some things really quickly with this root cause analysis. Go ahead and check out the last lesson, lesson 4. There's a download associated with that, so you don't need to pause and take a look at these slides, okay? That's all downloadable. So root cause, step 2, you can find in the download. A few things you want to do to try and find solutions to that root cause. Do some brainstorming, get the team involved, get those solutions recorded, and then after that you'll do some evaluation. So the evaluation, there's a few areas here to focus on. Take a look at the download, try and get the best solution to solve that root cause. So for our example, we have a few solutions here for our problem of having slow item setup. Last time we decided that 1 and 3 were not going to be suitable. They're going to be causing more problems. 4 and 5 are good solutions, but they're going to take some time and money, so they may not be able to implement immediately. We decided for number 2 to be something that we can easily communicate. It's free and fast as long as we have a good relationship with the customer. So there's some constraint there, but we should be able to get that accomplished quite quickly while we work on 4 and 5. So we'll use number 2 for example of updating our value stream map. So we want to make sure that we have a future state, make sure everybody's on the same page, know what we're going for, and any wins that we have we're able to see. So on this, we're going to go for a goal of, we know that we have 10% of items that come in are going to be new. They have to go through this new item setup process. Now we're asking the customer to give us more information, like the dimensions of the product, the barcode on the product, these kind of details, so that we don't need to go through the item setup process for these new items that come in. If that happens, we're estimating to go from 10% of items that require new item setup down to 5% of items. So that's our goal. We want to put that in our future value stream map. Next, we want to try and improve our process. So number 4 and 5 is to increase the speed, so reduce the cycle time associated with getting those items set up that require setup. So we're going to try and get that down from 48 seconds to 20 seconds with those improvements. So those will come later. So this is our future state. Now for our action plans, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this book. It's called The New Leader's 100-Day Action Plan. If you're interested in taking a look at any of the materials that I mentioned, the links are down in the description. Those are affiliate links, so if you purchase from them, I'll go ahead and get a small commission. Now this is actually, the book is for new leaders, so I know what you're going to say. It's not related to supply chain. Why don't you have an action plan book associated with supply chain? I just want to remind you, our friend Robert E. Cole, that effective imitation turns out not to be imitation at all, but a process of creative borrowing and adaptation. So taking a look at the previous books that we took a look at, doing root cause analysis, it focuses completely on root cause. There's no help there to get the root causes resolved with an action plan or anything similar, tools like that. Now, same thing for value stream mapping. They basically help you prioritize your projects that are going to have the most effect, and after that, actually getting them started and continuously improving. Not much help there either. So I did find some good help with this book, so we're going to go through some of the tricks, and this is where I got the 3 tips to help with our action plan. So action plans aren't new, but we're going to go in and take these tricks and apply them to our action plan. Now these guys, they start out, the starting point, and indeed the foundation is the burning imperative. So we're going to be talking about that. Experienced successful leaders inevitably say that getting people aligned around a vision and values is the most important thing that they have to do. So we're going to be focusing on getting people involved, motivated to take on the tasks that are we found the problem for with root cause analysis, some solutions for, we vetted them, and now we have to get them rallied around by using this burning imperative. So what is a burning imperative? They mentioned it in the book. Go ahead and take a look in more detail. But I'll go ahead and summarize for you here. Burning imperative is like the driving force that moves a team forward every day. So it's not just their normal routine. They're going to be having to do a little extra, and management can't often always ask or motivate. So it's going to be hopefully an internal motivation. This burning imperative helps keep them driving forward. Along with that, it's going to be a unifying force for the team. It's going to be like a rallying cry. Keep everybody on the same page, moving together. And if everybody's moving together and knows where they're going, it's going to allow some level of flexibility. The leader, the boss, manager, is not always going to be the focal point for making decisions. If everybody has a clear vision of where everything is going, any problems that pop up should be able to make any minor decisions to keep the process moving forward. And with that, you're going to have results in faster speed of accomplishment, because they're not always going to have to stop and ask questions. They're going to have the confidence we're going in the right direction. We're going to make and achieve this goal. And from this, once you have your burning imperative, things like your mission, your vision, objectives, goals, strategies, and plans will all follow along with that. So don't want to take some time, take a look at the problems you're facing in your company, your business. What's an overarching theme to kind of keep them motivated for the next 6 months, 1 year, while we get these things resolved. Okay, so a good example I have of a burning imperative is the space program in the United States. Apollo 13 is a quite famous accident that happened in April of 1970. So sometime during the flight, after they left the atmosphere, there was an explosion in one of the oxygen tanks. So they were venting oxygen. The spacecraft was damaged, and the goal of mission control was to get them. And they had a goal to trying to fix the problem. So how did the mission control team get around? Because you have your physicists, you have your mathematicians, you have your engineers, and everyone is shocked with this accident. They don't know what to do. So they rallied around a burning imperative to get everything rolling and on track. And what they famously did is say, get these men home alive. So with that rallying cry, everyone was able to focus, didn't worry about the cause, didn't worry about who was to blame, focused around getting these men home, fixing the issues that are immediately necessary to bring them home. So we're going to try and do something similar for our example. We have these previous examples of solutions. The main one being number 2, ask the customer to provide the information. Number 4 is getting a piece of technology, a cubic metric measurer, to help get the cubic capacity of our item so that we don't need to physically measure it. And number 5 is to have a more intuitive interface, because currently there's a few different screens you have to have open. One screen is for the volume, one screen is for the barcode on the product, and one screen is actually receive. So it's not a very intuitive process. So all these solutions that we're working on are really kind of focused around making the process easier, more accessible, less prone to error. So my rallying cry, my burning imperative will be make inbound for everyone. Inbound really takes a lot of training, a lot of focus. We want to make it easy and accessible. So make inbound for everyone. Focus on your business, see what it needs, and create that burning imperative to go and get everyone focused on making those improvements. All right, so we're going to take a look at our action plan. Simple stuff that you've probably seen before. It does help. I definitely recommend using an action plan in conjunction with these 3 tips. So it helps you consider all areas, so you don't leave everything out, and it breaks everything into a process that you can do in stages. You don't get too overwhelmed trying to do everything at once. Hopefully it'll break out so that you can do one stage at a time and have those accomplishments. It also allows you to make sure that there's buy-in from cross-functional teams. So you want to make sure when you're doing a project that you have agreement with your team members and some way to track their progress. So what an action plan does is it gets everyone involved in one room, they agree to the process, and then they're expected to follow up within that time frame. So what the action plan does is hold everybody accountable. It's a bit like a contract to keep everybody on track. So we're going to use the action plan for that. Basic example that you may have seen include action items, owner, start date, end date, and current status. So this is a good framework to use. You can use color coding to indicate what the schedule is. It can be green for on schedule. If the deadline is nearing, you can highlight in yellow. Over deadline would be red. And then your status ones can be abbreviated for C completed, IP in progress, and NS not started. So you can see the different stages for talking to our customer. In this example, to ask them to provide us with the information for the item setup, and then the follow-up procedures for us to train the staff and get that the information uploaded into the system. So use that as an example. The first tip to keep everything on track with the action plan is make sure you have that burning imperative. So burning imperative is our first tip. Our next 2 tips are here with the follow-up. So treat the action items as milestones. It's going to build your team confidence. So we talk about that more in a little bit. What I want to talk about now is this rule, is the half personal, half public rule for the meetings. So you're going to be setting meetings every week or every few days to follow up on the process of your action plan. So to make sure that you're productive, we're going to take into consideration this half public, half personal action plan. So when discussing it, have the meeting start out with everybody having time, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, to discuss the wins that they had, what they succeeded at, any failures or learning experience they had to help the rest of the team, and then any potential misses that are coming up that they're going to need help with. So everybody gets this 2-3 minutes. And then after that, it's important to discuss as a group to help those that are going to be needing assistance when they ask for help with their potential misses. So it's going to be done in between the two halves of the meeting. First half being, the 2-3 minutes of personal, and then the other half being public. There's a part in the middle where there's prioritization. So prioritize, so either the boss or the manager is going to listen to all the wins and the losses and the requests for help and go and prioritize. So the second half of that meeting is going to be totally focused on resolving those issues that people are having, because they're going to have the largest impact on the business. And anything that can't be finished within the meeting, definitely schedule follow-up meetings for that. So that's the concept behind the half personal, half public rule. Now, most of us have updates that are pretty common in meetings. Right? You sit through the meeting, and there'll be one person, one by one, will go through and, today our shipping percentage is 98%. Last month it was 95%. The next person purchasing, our costs went from $5,000. This month is $5,200. It's all very boring, very unproductive. So these type of updates are actually not going to happen in these type of meetings. Anything that's related to simple updates like that will be distributed before the meeting, and then in the meeting we'll totally focus on the personal and public side to get those issues resolved that need the total team help. Okay, so building team confidence is actually around our third tip to help with action plans. So take a look at your action plan and find some stages, some steps that could be considered as milestones. They're going to be very beneficial to the team, something that you can celebrate. That's going to really build your team confidence. Think of some things that the boss would want to talk about. They can share up to the management chain, and focus on those and double down the effort. Over-invest time, over-invest resources, and over-deliver on those milestones. Make sure that those get done without a doubt in the best time. And then celebrate them. Make sure you give the team some kind of reward. They get time off. They get some lunch provided. I have a great experience with KFC. It's perfect. They deliver. It's good food. It's halal for everybody. It's really great. Good mashed potatoes. Everyone enjoys that. No complaints with a free lunch for the team. So now go. Quick lesson today. You want to make sure that you develop your burning imperative. Complete the action plan. Make sure you list those steps out. Get everybody's approval that they're going to be able to deliver on those action plan steps. And then we're going to follow up. So we're going to follow up using our milestones, and then follow up with the meetings using our half personal, half public method to make sure that we have efficient meetings. So we're going to take the time, list those things out. Next week, we're going to be talking about making a continuous improvement, so making sure the culture changes, and then how to share your process improvements with management. Good tools to go and show that, display that, easy to read, and make for continuous improvement. So look for that next week. If you have any questions, jump down into the comments. We'll be sure to ask. And do join the next week's lesson. The group will be available for any questions also, and previous training videos. And next week, be sure and join us in Singapore, 10 a.m. All right, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys coming. I will see you next week.